Okay, hi everyone. This is Mike here from Zapier CRM. So this is the extensions masterclass where I will just spend a little bit of time just looking at automations today and why you may want to use them in your CRM. Morning, Larry. It's 3 p.m. here in the UK, so the day is progressing. Again, if you say hi in the chat, introduce yourselves. And as I go through the webinar, if you have a question, please do ask it on the questions tab. And this just gives me a way to track later what people have been asked, because we can then export those a little bit easier and log them better than in the chat. So if there's a question on the questions tab, and then we have the polls. So I'm going to ask a quick question here in the polls. So have you used automations? No. So I sent a quick poll, if you could answer that, and don't forget to let me know where you're watching from. So whether you've used it or not. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again, so you're not having to see me so large. Okay, so this should be coming on in a second. So again, if you attended a webinar the other day, this is the same CRM data. Okay, so some people have used automations elsewhere, but not in the CRM. So our automations at the moment is via an extension, and you can then access it once it's installed via the automations area here. So it's been one of our extensions that we developed around a year ago, and it's used to do like the new transactions or new contacts or anything that's happening that's new in your CRM. You can get automations to do something on the back of that. So what we'll be doing as part of version 3 is we'll be extending this to handle a little bit more actions and a few more triggers. So this is the automations page. So we've got triggers here. This is the tab I'm on now. And as you can see, it's a relatively new extension, and there's a bit of information. Let us know what you think. Is there anything that we want to capture? So right now you can do various triggers. So you have anything on a new event, so a new contact, a new quote, a new invoice, a new transaction, a tag added or a tag removed, and then you can do conditions as well. So I'll go into those in a little bit more later. So you've also got actions. So at the moment we've got 3 actions, but we do have a couple of additional actions which are added when we have a relevant extension. So one that we're just building in at the moment is SMS, so SMS2. So, and I can show you generally how that works in the CRM and what you can do with the automation once that's built into automations a little bit later. So these are the standard triggers, and we also have recipes. So again, recipes is more, you'll be running something. So we've only got one at the moment. So this is delete contacts older than 30 days. So these are like a predefined set of automations which you want it to do. So again, we'll be adding more recipes to this. It's a little bit reliant on the data model at the moment, which we're improving in version 3. So this is one where if you enable it, it will delete any contacts in your list that are older than 30 days. If you're wanting to keep a very light database, then you can turn this on and it will delete them 30 days or longer ago. And then once you've turned that on, so if you look at my list again, I've got a lot of dummy data. And you see that we've had some that have been added in February, so just a few days ago. And then we've got others that have been added like 2018, so long ago. And there's, for example, 492 contacts in this example data. So this is one to be a little bit careful with. So you may only want to run this type of recipe if you're wanting to, if you're getting a lot of leads into your system in a month and you just want to, anybody that hasn't converted in 30 days, effectively they've dropped off. So your list is going too fast for you to manage, for example, with that. So say we turn this on you can see that the automation's on there. So that recipe's on, and it requires cron. So what that means is it'll tell you when you created it. So it was this was when this was actually added. It says how many times it's run, and usually it will run every day. So this automation will do it at the end of the day, and it will run, and it will delete contacts older than 30 days. So if you can just see how many times it's run and the last time it's run. So if I run it now, then it's going to delete all my data, which is fine for this. I can just restore it afterwards. So the automation is running, and this should be cleaning up my data. So if I don't want to be managing contacts older than 30 days, then this is just something that can do that. So it's an example recipe. So this might take a little bit of time. So it should delete. So if we go back to triggers in the meantime, so I'll let that run. So we go back to triggers. So what we have in triggers, and again, if there's any questions, do ask them on the questions tab. It is a little bit like if this then that. So yeah, we designed it a little bit like that. So it was familiar. You'd be able to turn them on and off. So that should just keep running, and eventually that will be removing contacts. So they're the recipes, and we'll be adding additional ones. So various other ones which are time-based like that. And so you could have things like automatically convert all invoices from unpaid to overdue if they go past the due date. So that was another example. So they're some of the recipes that we'll be building in. But the general triggers side of thing, so say we have a new contact, and then we can say has field contains. So we have a new contact, and let's say, so if you remember the other day, we had the hair color in there. So hair color contains brown. And then you can say distribute to. So what distribute does is it round robins the leads. So you can say every customer manager in the CRM will be so leads brown. This is an automation that anybody that comes in with hair color brown will get distributed among customer managers. So it'll first go to whoever's first in the list, and then the next one will get distributed to the next person. So if you're having like a lead distribution system, then this is what you can set up. So this is the first stage here, that it's distributing it to the customer manager. So if we go back to the contacts, so we've got a list of contacts again, and let's add in a new contact. So you see, let me first show you the team actually. So we have the team. So in the CRM, so there we go. So this is showing that it's now run. So it's completed, and it'll tell you how many times it's run. So if we go back to the triggers that I had a minute ago and view the automations, so I've got a couple of other ones there. So let's delete some of these. So delete that one. So these are other examples. I'll expand on this shortly. So this is the one we had. So leads brown, distribute to. So if we have a look at it again. So we're distributing it to 0BS CRM customer managers. So on the team page, you'll see that manage customers only. That's that role. So anyone that has got that role. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. And anybody, so what it will do is it will distribute it among those. So if we had a contact now, so brown 1, 0, BS CRM. Status lead, and hair color brown. And just call this person brown 1. And we save these contacts. What's happening there? I managed to break it. So that would save down brown 1, and it's assigned to Mike. So I'm not sure why it went to why it errored there, but you got brown 1, it's distributed to Mike. So the next contact that we add with the same data. So if this breaks again, that's my fault. So we'll quickly say, so brown 2 at 0BS CRM.com. So again, this is running in my development environment. So this is as up to date as it can be. So again, let's fill it in properly. So Mike Oops, brown 2. So this is another contact. Should match the automation that we've had before. So again, hair color brown. So this is brown 2 at 0BS. Save again. Let's do it again. So then manage contacts. So you see here it's now, so it's adding the contacts, but for some reason mine isn't refreshing the page. So we got brown 1 assigned to Mike, brown 2 has been assigned to Richard. And Richard was the next person in the list to get that type of contact. So that's one automation, is you can have it assigned to, so you can have it automatically distribute leads as they come in on a round robin basis. So if you have a group of people that you want to send leads to, you can do it that way, and they'll get them in turn. So Mike won't get 10 in a row. So it's a good way of distributing leads across your sales team without needing to go and do it manually. So that's one example. So again, if you've got a question, would you mind asking them on the questions tab? So that way I can answer it, and it will show up to other users as well, and we can also see what people have asked. So Stephanie has asked, could you assign a zip code range? So no, you can't. So you'd have to do it via, possibly have to do it via individuals, but I'm not quite sure how zip code ranges work. So let me show you what you can do. So if we had another automation here, so you could say new contact, and then you can say field contains. So then if you go to, so we call it postcode. So you can say postcode, and so in the UK, like Manchester would have something like a certain postcode, so like M5 would be a certain range of addresses in that area. So you could say anybody from M5 go to a certain contact. So you could say assign to the person in that area. So that would match. So even if the contact had M5 1PQ as their postcode, then it would match because the first part would be M5. So I don't know how zip codes work, but in the UK, it would capture it that way. And then that would assign anybody in the M5 area to Richard. So you could do it on that way. So that would probably do it. I'm not sure though. So Larry's asked, are there any limitations to the number of values you can add to an automation? Also, are there limitations to the number of options you can have in an automation? So it's a single trigger and action. So this is sort of, let me finish adding this one. So new contact, field contains postcode, assigned to Richard. And that'll be M5 to Richard. We don't have multiple, you wouldn't be able to then say other things in this. It's a single condition and a single action. So we save that automation. And when you view the automations here on this next page, you can see here that this is the order. So when a contact gets added, it will first check to see whether the postcode, in this case, has M5 in it, and it will assign it to Richard. But then what will happen is it will then actually go back and round robin distribute it to whoever would be next. So that isn't really what you want, because you want anybody with M5 to go to Richard. So you can just click here and you can change the order. It should be a common order. So doesn't need to be dragging at the moment, but you can reorder here and decide then what the order of the automation is. So if you had another automation, for example, you could say new contact again. Again, no condition. So every new contact, you want to send an email, and this time you want to send it to the contact owner. So you can write something in here that new lead, deal with it. And then you can write something in here, hello, you have had a new lead. Then this will be emails to owner. And you can save the automation. So again, when you go back to the list of automations, you'd be able to drag these around. So I'm not quite sure why they're not dragging on this version, but they do drag around. So and this is in the right order. So you're saying what this last automation does is it will send an email to whoever the contact owner is. So if you have an automation that eventually sets it to Richard because it's an M5 postcode, then you can send an email to the owner. So it'll send Richard an email and say, you've had a new lead, do something with that lead. And you can do it in other areas. So you can add a transaction automation, for example, which is the same type of thing. So you can say new transaction contains. So if you've got a particular product that you're selling, so say you're selling, I don't know, gold coins. So anything or silver coins, anything that contains gold, you've got an expert that works in gold. So then you can actually send an email to, you want to let Goldman at CLBS.com know. So you can put an email in there, and you can use tags. So you can say, this person has purchased an item containing gold, so do something about that. So you can say gold sales. So you can do it based on your transactions as well, and you can have it either go directly to any email you want. You can send it to the contact, so the person that's purchased. So what you can do here, you could even say something like has status. So has status failed. So if the transaction has failed, you can send an email and say, your transaction has failed, is there anything we can do to help you with? And then save it down. And then you can know as many of these as you want. There's no limit to the number of automations you add in. And then you can, like I said before, you can drag them. Usually you can drag them around, so they should be dragging around. You can disable them if you don't want them to run, or you can delete them if you just want to remove them completely. So that's a very high-level run through. So I've done answering that one. Okay, so Larry's also asked, so if I'm dealing with 10, 20, or hundreds of postal codes, for example, I would need to make an equal number of automations. So potentially you can do it using that partial match. So if you know that it's going to match anywhere in that postcode. So if the M is later in the postcode, then it will also match as long as it contains that value. But yeah, so if you've got a lot of different postal codes, then depending on how refined you want to be, you would need a separate automation for each one currently. And Esther's asked about invoices. So this isn't a general, this is just focusing on automations and Esther. So if you've got any questions in general about the CRM, do ask them via the support box. So that's what you can do with automations. So you have new contact, new quote, new invoice. So these are the triggers that you can do. And we'll be doing things, as mentioned, we'll be adding additional triggers to this area. So there are some additional actions that you can bring in. So if you have a certain extensions installed, you can have it do extra actions. So we're just finalizing the send SMS action. So if you've got Twilio installed, you can do the same type of thing. So you could send a text message. So a little bit like on here, so I can show you. So you've got myself in here. And I'm not sure if, so what I'll do on here is, I think you can see me and you can see my phone. I don't know if that's going to load incorrectly. Let me put the volume on. So I've got myself as a contact and we have the Twilio extension currently installed. So what the automation you'll be able to do with this is pretty much what you can do already on the contact here is you can put a number in there and say hi. And then when you send the SMS, as long as you've got, oh no, hello world. As long as you've got the SMS set up, it's not sending my SMS. So as long as it's got that set up in the automations, it should send an SMS. So again, that is something that we'll be adding to automations. You'll be able to have text messages automatically send, and it'll be because I'm in developer mode that it isn't sending the SMSs out. But if you've got a live implementation, then it will send SMSs and it will come through to the phone. So that's something I can share a bit more details on as we send the update to this extension. So you can do emails and various like contact assignments currently. So you can distribute to certain people based on fields. So if you have a specific person that deals with inquiries in French, then you'll be able to send the leads to that person. So then they can deal with that particular lead to the CRM. So another question is, can I update fields? So the automation at the moment, we don't have update fields. So the automations does interact directly with the database, but at the moment the actions are quite limited to what you can actually do there. And what we'll be doing is we're extending it to use other areas of the API. So if you have a transaction, again, you might want to then add a specific tag if it contains something, or to the contact. So if you have a contact that has a specific tag, then you might want to fill in a field. So these are things that you can do through customizing through the API at the moment. Is you could do your own little trigger, but these are built-in ones, and we are adding more as we go through. So at the moment we've been adding actions related to, for example, sending an SMS. That was working earlier. Sending an email, adding a tag to, if you're running ConvertKit, then you can add a tag to ConvertKit, and we'll be adding additional ones that you can do like that. And also when we release the next mail campaigns, which we did a masterclass on a couple of weeks ago, that will be, you'll be able to do things like, have they clicked a link, or have they opened a certain broadcast? So if they clicked a link, then do something in the CRM. So there's a lot more to come with automations. It's relatively new, and that's just a little bit of showing generally what you can do in there at the moment. So how do you, again, so zip code ranges, that is something I've made a note of to see if there's anything particular we can do there. Because I'm not sure whether like partial matches would really work under that situation. And also any other recipes. So if there's any particular recipes that you have in mind that would be useful, so let me go back to that tab. So in automations at the moment, we've got deleting contacts older than 30 days. So as you can see now, I've got 28 contacts, and they're all within the last 30 days. So it's a way of keeping your list down, but not a lot of people would really want to do that. There's only some specific like use cases. It was the first example that we put in there. So I can turn that off. So if there's any other particular ones here, so I'll turn that one off that you'd like to see, again, do let us know. It does require cron with these type of automations, and there are some limitations of using WordPress as the cron. So we do cover that in some of our guides of what to do if you need a little bit more accuracy in these. So this will run around about once a day. So again, once it's back on, yeah, so it'll say last when it was run. So it'll be running roughly once a day, but it does depend with WordPress whether you're getting the right sort of traffic on your website. If your website's not visited for a week, then none of the crons run. So, but you can work around that and make your cron more efficient by either just using a server cron. So somebody's okay, cool. Yep. So if you can send anything through to the support box, Larry, we should have resolved the spam issue now. So you were originally being flagged as spam, but I think that should now be sorted. We've asked for that to be lifted with our host. But so do check. I dropped you an email through earlier this morning, so that you should have received, and you should also now be able to reply. But we will see. They've told us times before that they've removed, they've got quite harsh spam filters. So I'm not really sure. It seems to randomly block people every now and again, but they should now be coming back through. But yeah, in general, that's automations as it stands. We will be again extending this as requests come in of other things that could be done, and things like the SMS one that I wanted to show you that was failing because of developer mode. I will bring that I'll get up a slightly different demo setup for that when I'm running through the CRM again on Tuesday. So I'll be able to show like how do the SMSs work and like what happens here if you have an SMS action in there. So if you've got Twilio installed, it will show an extra option there to send SMS to, and you can put a number in. So that's useful if you want things to like get a text message when you have a new order. So if you're out in the field or you're just not at a computer, then it can ping through a text message. So that's pretty much it for today. A little bit shorter webinar, but just covering a bit more detail about the extension. Because if we do this in the general product tours, it's a little bit too much detail to go through because we've got a lot of different extensions. So how many so Larry's asked how many triggers are there. So at the moment we have got in here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 triggers in the CRM, in the actual automations tool. But if you go to settings, what's actually happening behind the scenes is we do have other triggers that are running around and doing things. So I believe it's at the bottom of the general page. You'll see these auto logs. So contact status change is one that we've got in there at the moment. So that trigger is in there, but we've just not written that to do anything in the automations yet. So there are certain things that we are logging, so we can log things, but then, so like a new event, new transaction, new invoice, new quote, new company, new contact are in there. Status change is relatively new, which we've not moved across into the triggers yet, and same as for like other things. So there are certain events as well. So if, for example, if I install mail campaigns, and quickly show you how that page would change. So so this is version 2 mail campaigns, and it's sort of what I was touching on before, that if you have other extensions active, it does change. Currently it changes the logging capability. So if we go back to the logs, you'll see now you've got extra ones in here. So you can log that it's sent, that it's open, that it's been clicked, or that it's been unsubscribed. And these are the things that we'll be bringing in as additional triggers to the automation. So at the moment, if you go to automations, you've still only got these. So we'll be extending the registry of what can trigger things into the tool. So it's a little bit of an alternative to Zapier. So we built this because we had a Zapier integration, or Zapier, however you pronounce it, and this is just a way of doing it in the CRM. So you don't necessarily need to set up the Zapier if you were doing in CRM operations. Okay, so again, it's cleared. I'm done answering that one. So the data has been cleared through an automation. So if a change is made by an automation, can you revert it? No. So automations will. So for example, there's not a great deal of things that happen to the record. So as you can see here as the actions, you can either assign it to somebody, you can send an email to somebody, or you can distribute it. So that's sort of why we didn't want it to be updating fields, because I can guarantee if we did something like new contact has status lead update field, somebody would update the field to say customer, and then have another automation which updates that customer field back to lead, and you'd just be stuck in a loop. So we're sort of a little bit limited on what we allow you to do as an action. But if you do need to do anything more specific, we do have the API for that. So the API can do a full contact update, and you can write certain routines in there if you need to do certain things. So these are just generally, it's useful for mainly like distribution. So if you're distributing based on, so if you have a form that's coming in and there's a specific tag, so if you have a form about Dell computers, and you like contact us for more information, and it gets that tag, then you can do certain things. So you can assign it to your Dell person. Or if you've got a specific field contains, so you could have everybody from that contains India, for example, in the field contains. County, not country. Country in India assigned to somebody that to the test user that deals with everybody from that area. So you can distribute people that way. So it's a way of assigning to contacts, sending emails about certain things, or distribute is just the round robin. So you can choose a specific role and it'll round robin distribute. Okay, so unless there are any other questions, so that's what I was just answering. If a change is made by automations, can it be reverted? Or do you have to just edit the record? Okay, so I think I've picked up most of the questions again. So thanks for asking questions again, Larry and Co. It definitely helps to know what you're trying to do as well. So we can then, it helps inform us on which areas we want to be building into places and where. So thanks again for taking the time. So is there a timeline? So we have a rather large feature tracking management tool at the moment. So we use that one. So is there a timeline to see modification to any changes? So when are we adding them in? So at the moment we're working on finalizing version 3. And we've got a couple of weeks left of that. But then there's going to be a lot of work that we're doing around making sure we're explaining all of these features. So do we have the right marketing areas set up? But then, like anything, things can push things out of the way. So if we are adding things to here, but if something crops up that's more important, then that will go in ahead of that. So there are things in there, or if there's specific customizations that we're doing for a particular use case, then that might be something that pushes other things out to the side for the time being. But we do keep track of everything that everyone's asking. At the moment, we've got around 260 separate feature requests and little suggestions here and there. So we do release pretty much every week. So if you've not seen our consistency page, this shows you, it's a way of tracking alongside the product updates what we do week in, week out. So I'm done answering this one. So I'll post this in the chat. So this is our page that covers the actual updates, and we also have the product updates where we try and summarize over the month what we've added. So we've just released the first one of this year. So again, product updates. This is our 21st month of updates. Okay, so this is another good question. So can I use Zapier to do things that automation doesn't do? So our Zapier, again, Zapier only runs on new triggers again. So the way that Zapier works is it looks at your contact database, and when you're setting this up as an app, so to release a Zapier app that you guys can then use, the endpoint for customers, it'll always look and it'll base on the ID, and it'll say, is there a new data here? And if there is, it'll get that new data and you can do things with it. It doesn't handle status changes very well, as far as I'm aware even. So you can't necessarily do, you can do things that it doesn't do, like if you get a new lead, you can have it send it to, I don't know, iContact or any of the other apps. So if there's certain things that we don't do, or you could use it to put things into the CRM. So there's so many different things that Zapier has. So let me just give you an example. So again, we do have a Zapier app that's available to bundle holders, and there's so many different apps in here. So you can see that. So for example, some of them are premium only, so like Facebook lead ads. Again, so if somebody fills in the data there in a Facebook lead ad and you're using Zapier Premium, then that can go into your CRM. But we do have plans to build our own extension for that anyway. And then there's all sorts of other things, so like Google Forms. Again, you can connect Google Forms. So it allows you to connect Google Forms with other apps. So if there's certain things that you want to do, so for example, so these are sort of pre-built recipes that Zapier suggests. So this one, for example, create MailChimp subscribers from Google Form submissions. You could have something there that would be create ZBS contacts from Google Form submissions. So if you're collecting feedback via form, you can then have that go into your CRM. So whatever you're doing for the trigger, you can have ZBS as an action to create a contact. So there are things, yes, that you can do with Zapier that you can't do with automations. So it is a good alternative if you want to be doing that type of stuff. So that's that one. So see if there's been any other questions. So Alessandro has asked, how far are you away from releasing version 3? Do we have an estimated time? So estimated time was Q1 2019. So again, that's the next few weeks. But as I was saying earlier, the things can knock that release date back. We do have a current timeline of what we're working on. It's going generally smoothly so far. But we do have a lot of sort of testing to get through when it comes to making sure that everything works and we don't get things like the 500 error that we just had there. So this shows effectively what we're working on. So automations, it's a relatively new extension. And then we've finalized the mail campaigns version 2 now. The beta testing's closed, and that was in the final stages. So again, we said that was actually due out in Q4. So it's actually not, it's coming along with version 3. So it's going to be a joint. So we do need to update that. And then the database migration. So again, to allow us to do more things with automations as well, that is building into it. So I will share this link to version 3. And if you do want to get notified, so we'll be letting people know when we're approaching the release of that as well. Let me paste this into the area as well. So I'm not sure whether you can see that on the screen actually. Okay, I put that on the wrong tab. So let me just paste this in a second. So on the, so we do have, oh yeah, I think I was showing you this, yes. So also version 3, sorry, is here. So a few weeks away is the answer to that. And if you do want to be notified, then do sign up. Send a call to action. So version 3.0, be notified. So this page and link you here, if you go there, that will take you to the page that you can see on the screen. And you'll be able to then, if you put your email in, it will let you know when version 3 is around the corner, and it gives you a little bit more information of where we're up to. So we'll update this timeline to reflect the fact that that's pretty much ticked, but it's coming along with version 3. Yeah, and it gives you a bit of information about the current pricing as well as the version 3 pricing when we launch. And then you can read more about all the other features that we support, all the other extensions. So we've done masterclasses on automations, mail campaigns. I gave a very quick look at the Twilio, which then didn't send the SMS because of developer. But we have other extensions, so like WooCommerce, Connect. So there's a lot of information in how we are building version 3. So that's pretty much the questions. So Larry's asked us, how large is the team? So it's myself and Woody. So there's 2 of us building this together. And we've been working together on it since 2015. So we've been around a while. And as we get towards version 3 and the more we're building into it, we will be looking to expand in future. But right now, it is just us 2. Okay, so if there's any other questions, again, do ask them. Ask in the questions tab, and we will continue to be doing. The next webinar is on Tuesday. So if you, but again, that'll be the repeat of what I did this week. So we're just covering. Let me jump back. So we're covering in the classes. Okay, so today we're looking at automations, so a little bit of time on automations, and then version on Tuesday next week is just the usual product tour. So if there's any particular questions you have in general, you can ask them there. And then next Thursday, I'm looking again at mail campaigns v2. So we had quite a lot of interesting questions last time on that. So again, we thought it'd be useful to continue to do that via here. And this tells us a little bit. So this is myself and Woody, and what we do with all these classes is we put them up on YouTube afterwards. So if you've not subscribed to the YouTube channel and don't feel like you have to attend all of these live, we put them on. So I put Tuesday's up yesterday. And so they're all added shortly after the webinar. So you can go and watch as many of those as you like and subscribe to be notified of any new ones. So please do subscribe to us. And like anything, so you have the classes, and if you do want to learn a little bit more about us and the CRM, we have an About Us page. So you can read a little bit about the team behind. So if you've not seen that before, you can jump on and learn a bit more. So that's the link About Us. So Stephanie's asked, are there any free trials of the extensions or a way to preview how they work before purchasing them? So that's what these webinars are for, just to give you a way of seeing how things work before purchasing. So we have, again, the page that I've shown you here, and this is our About page. It shows you a little bit more information, and then we have our manifesto, which if you've not seen this, this is our guiding principles and what we do around the just our business philosophy. Because we're a WordPress-based CRM, we don't allow free trials. So the core itself is free to use, but if you do want the extensions, then you do need to purchase access to them. We don't currently allow like trial versions because it's a self-hosted CRM. You're purchasing it to install on your own website, and the license is for like support and updates. So once it's operational, then it's running in your CRM and you can continue using them. So we don't unfortunately have free trials. Okay, so you can read about us on the About Us page, and if there are any feature requests, just submit them via the feature request forms. And if you are interested in purchasing a bundle, as you could see before on our version 3 page, we've been adding lots to the CRM over the past almost 3 years now. So we've been in version 2 pricing, which is what we're currently on. We've been adding a lot to this, so we are now almost at the point to move to our new pricing. So if you do purchase a bundle before we launch v3, you get version 2 prices. So definitely take advantage of it, because so this package, which is Entrepreneur, that's the equivalent of our Elite. So Zero BS mail campaigns will only be available in the Elite plan after version 3. So the Entrepreneur, again, at the moment, you get access to mail campaigns. From version 3 onwards, it will be only in part of the Elite. So it's saving you a good $300 straight away there if you got the bundle now. If you are on the Entrepreneur plan, then we don't increase the prices. So when version 3 comes out, then you'll always be on the $199 per year. Whereas if you wait, then you'll always be on whatever you join at the time. So per month, this is how it sort of works out if you want to know roughly what it's going to cost your business per month. But it is billed annually because of the fact that it's downloadable and installable on your own systems. And you can have a look at all the included extensions that you get. So I spent a bit of time looking at some of the bigger ones. So automations, which is here, and then spent time looking at mail campaigns the other week. But then there's so many other extensions that you can do. So mail campaigns v2, again, is only in these 2 bundles. So again, do take advantage if you haven't already done so. So I think that's all the questions again. Last chance to ask any more. So hopefully, yeah, I clicked on the wrong one. So let's close Zapier. So as a reminder, the bundle pricing currently is our version 2 pricing. So you purchase now to lock in to version 3. And I'll send you the link to that in a moment. I'll share the link to the bundle page. Okay, and I would recommend, if you haven't already purchased, to do so as soon as you can. We're not going anywhere. We're adding things all the time, and there's plenty of features that people are asking for. So there's plenty to be keeping us busy, and you can read all about us, read about our business manifesto, sign up for as many classes as you feel like you can take off my face. And then again, if you have any questions after you're using the CRM, just hit us up in support and we'll generally answer you pretty quickly. Okay, so again, thanks everybody for attending another webinar that actually lasted longer than I thought it was going to last, and I will see you all soon.